Welcome to Exiled and Rising. You are seen, you are heard, and here you belong. If you have been exiled from your own land, your country, welcome. If you are stateless, a refugee, undocumented, or waiting to be deported, welcome. If you're indigenous to a land that was stolen from you, welcome. If you're a survivor of war, genocide, and forced displacement, welcome. If you have faced the genocide of your dignity and identity because of your ethnicity, race, religion, the language you speak, the accent you carry, or your inherent value and beliefs, welcome. If you have been exiled from your own home, from your own community, your family, and if you never had a place at the dinner table, welcome. If you're an immigrant who arrived in a foreign country with just one bag and a few dollars, or if you made millions and still feel unworthy to take up a space, welcome. If you have been exiled from a communist country or still live in one, welcome. If you know what it means to live under surveillance, censorship, in a culture of obedience, welcome. If you have worked and labored in silence, exploited, underpaid, and stripped of your rights while fearing retaliation or deportation, welcome. If you were born into exile, if you carry the trauma of a homeland you never knew, and if you witness your father and your mother being silenced, being submitted, and being invisible, only to survive, welcome. I am Mael, host of Exiled and Rising. I survived 3 wars, statelessness, multiple displacements. Today, I work as a somatic therapist specializing in PTSD and trauma recovery. I am founder of the Somatic Trauma Recovery Center. For years, I have worked with survivors of war, systemic oppression, and complex trauma. And I know this. Trauma is not just something that happens. It shapes how we breathe, how we move, how we take up space, how we work, how we socialize, how we make money, and how we allow ourselves to exist. This podcast is not about surface level healing. We are not fluffing the feathers or shaking the crystals here. In Exile and Rising, we are going to the depth and the core of the trauma and what it really means to heal when you live in exile body. We will talk about what it means to rise, to transform, to heal, to move from wound to resistance, from trauma to resilience, and what it means to finally take a space. If this speaks to you, please pause now, subscribe, and share and review after. Let's begin. Welcome to the Scared of Your Own Voice series. Today, I would like to talk about holding your tongue and how it affects your body. Especially if you are holding your tongue for decades. If you're coming from the place of obedience and culture of obedience, the pain in your jaw and grinding of your teeth comes from unexpressed anger. And by anger, I mean healthy, aggressive anger we all have and need to have and need to express, meaning I am allowed to say no when someone is crossing my boundaries, when something is not okay, and still feel safe. And many of us, we didn't have a privilege to express our anger. So did you have to hold your tongue? Did you witness your mother holding her tongue? Were you allowed to speak up, to say no, to scream, to call for help, to call for justice? Or did you hold your tongue? Were you loyal to your family by saying nothing? Did you have to hold your tongue? An enormous amount of survival anger is stored in our caged mouth. Suppressed, braced, protective anger sits in your jaw for decades. And at the same time, you're holding your mouth back. Your pelvis is holding back too. The pelvis and jaw have almost the same anatomy. So, if a person has been assaulted, pelvis and jaw will respond simultaneously in a braced, tight, protective response. And those body parts will keep the memory of that holding and will feel unsafe letting go. And this is a form of trauma held in your body. Years of holding in survival states causes a lack of tone and lack of oxygen coming into the system. So many times you will feel, not only in your mouth, but your pelvis doesn't have any tone. It's almost like you cannot feel the blood flowing in your pelvis. It can feel damp. It can feel cold. It can feel as nothing. It can feel very tight. This means cells are not replenished and rejuvenated within your muscles. There is no radiance or color in your skin. There is no color in your face. And there is also no awareness of a pelvic floor. So when we don't see energy in those places in our body, we know the person had to hold their tongue. So what's happening on a cellular level? Your cells, they cannot be fed by oxygen, so there is no self-regeneration. And inflammation, TMJ pain, migraines, gum issues, endometriosis, not being able to conceive, not being able to have an orgasm, and not be able to speak your truth your no, your voice, not being able to speak up, are very common symptoms of the caged mouth. So think of how many times we had to hold our tongues, even in the midst of assault, of verbal harassment, of comments, when someone had to explain things to you. How many times did you have to hold your tongue because you didn't want to embarrass your family name or cause a fuss, or because you're afraid if you say anything, retaliation will be next? So this pain in our jaws and pelvis didn't start also with us. It started with our mothers and grandmothers. Think about your lineage. Because our mothers and grandmothers, they also knew how to hold their tongues in order to survive. If you're a minority, underprivileged, if you're not in 1%, think how many times your grandfathers, your father had to hold their tongue in order to survive. So we will pause here. Take time to be with this. Observe, reflect, write things down, see what will come up. And I will meet you in the next share of Scared of Your Own Voice series. I am Mael, somatic experiencing therapist for PTSD and trauma recovery. And as always, be gentle with yourself. Much love and care. If this episode spoke to you, to your mind, to your existence, and if you feel these stories need to continue being told, and tools for trauma healing shared in this community, please support and donate. There is no studio, production team, or polished edit. It is just me and the mission to support you on the path from exiled to rising. You can donate at the link in the show notes. If you're ready to take Healing Journey deeper, join me in the private Exile and Rising Premium membership. There, we will go into deeper dives, unfiltered discussion, and extended conversation you won't hear anywhere else. You will get exclusive insight and advanced tools in somatic trauma healing shared in each episode, with practical takeaways and summaries, where you can take actionable steps for your healing, or you can take them to your own trauma therapist. Subscribe to Exile and Rising Premium, where survival turns into self-mastery. Link is in the show notes. And If you want to ask a question, share your story or your insight, I would love to hear from you. Leave a voice message at videoask.com. Link is just below. I am Mael, and I will meet you again in this space where we will together move from trauma to resilience, from wound to resistance, from exile to rising. Until next time, stay well.